Internet, what is really, really, really good? You know who it is. It's the one and the only, the triple, the G.O.D. And of course, I'd like to welcome you guys back to another installment of Triple That Guy Speaks On. And yo, Kamen Rider X8 episode number 10. And yo, I'm going to say this. I appreciate this episode. Because I appreciate this episode for a reason you might not think. I appreciate this episode because of how the episode was resolved. Because it would have been simple as fuck for everybody, for Imu to gather them for the bullshit reason to get together, fight against Graphite, and then all of a sudden realize that we should work together, get along like Rodney King, and let's sing Kumbaya and fight this invisible bad guy together, which really isn't an invisible bad guy because the bad guy is the guy Kuroto Dan. That could have been the whole episode. I am glad that the show resolved itself. That after everybody, after they got the Dragon Knight Hunter stuff, went level 5, beat Graphite, they all went back to bullshit. Hero had a little reflection scene, and I kind of expected at the end that Call on Duty Black Cops and Bakuso Bike Man were going to get some of those too, but they didn't. But I'm glad that they didn't, because this building up to this team dynamic is going to take time. And I'm glad that the show is foreshadowing that it's not going to be some simple answer of let's get together, because let's just be honest. In a lot of other shows, that would have been the resolution. That would have been the bone of present. Let's get together and fight, and all of a sudden, yeah, let's dap, let's get along, let's high five. I appreciate the show for not falling into tropes and bucking trends of let's just do it together now because we got along this one time. There's a lot to work on there. There's a whole lot to work on there with Imu and building that team dynamic. And I'm glad that Dr. Hinata was there to remind Imu of that you can't do it alone. That while you sitting up here giving me the praise and all is cool, it took a whole bunch of people to make sure that you made it out of what happened to you 16 years ago. Speaking of, something that I'm not sitting up here and I'm not surprised by or anything was, this was the first time we seen Imu do his drastic change before a transformation. So now we know that it's not just when it's time to put on. You know what I'm saying? I want to know what's up with this. Who is Imu really? I'm glad that the show dangled that out there for 2 seconds, because I really thought that we was honestly gonna get some resolution. Nah, the show holding on to that for a while, and the show is going to hold on to that for a while because I'd rather appreciate the mystery of watching the show every week and trying to solve the question myself than the show trying to again put another ball on something. Oh, there's something up with Imu. Who here's the answer? At least the show is smart enough to understand that we'll dangle this in front of you, because it's like now the stuff that I thought that the show was gonna do up front is dangling carrots. Or, in my case, pick a food. Pick a food, it's all good. I'm like, a really good bologna sandwich, you know what I'm saying? A nice fried hot dog. A big-ass hamburger, you know what I'm saying? Some macaroni and cheese, made by my fan got the macaroni and cheese. Shout out to Auntie Pam, always with the green bean casserole and all that. My Aunt May, you know what I'm saying, got that roast beef. Oh, we talking about food. But that roast beef spread is fire. Go watch the birth limit video about the history of the not history of the roast beef spread. But anyway, I can appreciate that the show is willing to dangle that in front of you now. That while I thought that the show been going high octane the whole time, and this has been another episode of high octane action and drama and all that good stuff. But I'm glad the show didn't get it to me. There was a part of me when I reviewed the show last week that I would hope that the show wouldn't give you that too soon, because that's the type of mystery you need to stay tuned. And of course, Kuroto Dan the God, because he sat up here at the end of the episode like, yo, dumb, stupid motherfuckers doing all this work for me. I got something for that ass, so I just want to know what's really good with that, man. Just more of that stuff that keeps me wanting to tune in every single week and watch this show, because this show is going dumb, stupid, bananas off the meek Rackazoni, banging like a storm door in my home of Puerto Rico. Shout out to DJ Bobito Garcia. Man, I need to go play some NBA Street, man. I ain't played NBA Street in a minute. I need to do that. But, yo, another episode in the books, man. It's like, this is probably the shortest that I've gone on a review, because it's like everything was condensed into, Emu learning a lesson. And he learned the lesson because now Emu has something to strive towards. He has to strive towards, because now what's going to become important. What always has to become important in an ensemble cast when we are talking about a Toku, that he got to get the squad together, because he's learned the hard way. And it's like, I'm glad that the show was able to teach him the lesson the hard way. Bump your head and learn, nephew. You can't do this by yourself. So now his goal is immediately going to be to try to get the people together. It's probably going to fall in line as that it's going to be Hero first. You know what I'm saying? Because, it's like, because again, like we talked about earlier, because he had that change of heart in his head to really, to really try to get his head in the game. Then, of course, I don't know who is going to be between Kiryu and Carl on Duty Black Ops, who going to fall in line after Hero does. But you got to assume that even though this is an ensemble show, that you got to assume at some point that once they all get together, something is going to rock that boat, and there's going to be somebody else they got to include. That now that I randomly think about it, is that this could flow similar to how Geki Ranger flowed. I won't talk about that, but Geki Ranger's flow had a little bit to do with where I think XA might go as far as how they built up their narrative and added characters as the show went on. So it's like, if it's going to do something similar to Geki Ranger, which if you haven't watched you should, is that'll be perfect for the show's flow. That if they introduce characters like that, because I will say this about Geki Rangers, because it's not a spoiler. Geki Rangers introduces characters and ups the ante when it matters, and that's what made Geki Ranger a great Sentai. Was it upped the ante when it needed to, and not no more than it needed to keep not only the viewer entertained, but keep them guessing all the way to the end. And that's why it's one of my favorite Sentais. So it's going to be interesting to really see where the show flows from, because again, the characters dangled. What the fuck is up with Emu? What do the God Kuroto got planned? I don't know. But I know I want to keep watching this show and find the fuck out. That's what I want to do. So, with that being said, that is an episode. That is a wrap on that. Let's see what is popping off for the rest of the week. There's something special coming up, but I got to make sure I can get that together. Of course, another episode of Ruby, if there is one, and I don't know. All I know is I get on Facebook at 10 o'clock in the morning, and if it's something in my thing, then it's time to go watch Ruby. Roadblock End of the Line. I know ain't nobody watching that wrestling shit, but I don't care. I do it for me, not you. And whatever else I got popping off in this head of mine. So, we're going to go ahead and go get out of here. Again, I'd like to thank you for joining me for another episode of Triple the Guy Speaks On. And I am, of course, the one and the only, the Triple the G.O.D. And see you next game.